Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Welcome.
MQL is dead. That's a hot topic.
Really excited to discuss about this topic. I think this is one of the key parts of our methodology. We're talking about a topic that all of us have been hearing a lot, that is how MQL is changing and if it's suitable in this year and if we can still use it, or is there something else that is going to be better than it? We have our point of view, of course. It's in the title. We have already spoiled that to you, but we're going to present you what are the next steps from our perspective as well. I want to hear your thoughts as well. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. First of all, welcome everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about why the traditional MQL model is breaking down, especially for venture-backed B2B companies that need pipeline efficiency and speed, not just more activity. So the title is intentionally direct. I know MQL is that good. It's kind of a good way to stand out, but it's not really a session about killing an acronym, you know? It's about replacing an outdated qualification model with something more precise. Most teams do not have a demand problem only, they have a classification problem. They can generate activity, content engagement, event attendance, website visits, intent signals, all the different approaches, but they struggle to translate those signals into the right sales and marketing actions. So today I'm going to walk you through a new operation model. We call it the demand compass. The goal is simple. You help your team understand where each account is, why it matters now, and what should happen next. So before we get into the framework, a quick context on who we are, because maybe you haven't heard of us before. At AutomateRevOps, we work with B2B teams building AI native GTM and RevOps infrastructure. Our work is centered around Clay automation, mostly because we are one of the few Clay partners that have been in the market for at least 3 years, helping different companies in signal-based ABM and systems. We have been helping companies turn account data into pipeline actions. We have helped generate over $160 million in pipeline for B2B teams using Clay automations, and we run a large Clay-focused community and finding ecosystem as well. The important point here is that we're not coming at this from a theoretical lead scoring perspective. We're seeing this problem inside real GTM systems, companies running outbound, LinkedIn, emails, events, enrichment, CRM, workflows, and so on, and still asking the same question. Why is all this activity not consistently converting into pipeline? So that's the problem this session is about. Also, we have been seeing this pattern not only across one industry, but different industries. Like, for example, a company called Bueno, we helped generate over 100 meetings in 3 months using only 2 LinkedIn accounts. We have helped companies like Bismack, Kittle as well, creating an evergreen lead gen system, Clockwork, to create a signal-based ABM motion. But the problem is the same across all these companies. So we're going to discuss the problem right now, that the core issue is most companies are already doing a lot. They are running email campaigns. They are hosting webinars, events. Probably you are already doing a lot, investing a lot in paid advertising. They're creating content and SEO assets. They are enriching data, but more actively they become, that doesn't translate into more pipeline. So the real question is not, are we doing enough? The better question is, are we activating the right accounts at the right time? Because if the answer is no, then more activity simply creates more noise. So for CMOs, this matter because board pressure usually show up as a pipeline conversation. But underneath pipeline, there is often a demand classification issue. So the team might be generating signals, but not translating those signals into the right action. So the problem was never really the acronym MQL. The problem is that very different signals get collapsed into one label. A company can be marked as qualified because it fits the ICP, or because someone opened an email, or because they visited a pricing page, or because they attended a webinar, or they read 3 blog posts on your site. But those are not the same thing. Fit is not the same as engagement. Engagement is not the same as intent. Intent is not always the same as buying readiness. And well, all those signals become one label, MQL, and the team loses distinction. Marketing says qualified, but sales says not ready. And leadership asks you, where's the pipeline? So that's where revenue leaks, and not because nobody's working hard, but because the system doesn't not know what type of demand is looking at right now.
I have heard that before. Marketing and
I have
sales
seen that.
aiming at each other.
It's a battle that you're gonna need to fight every day if you are a CMO. But with this framework, you will be closer to actually um, have a better point of view or better results with your sales team. So I wanted to be fair as well. MQL was not a bad idea. I mean, in 2026, it made sense. Back then, teams had limited data, enrichment was low, account context was hard to maintain, behavioral signals were hard to capture, personalization at scale was mostly manual. So a score was useful. It creates structure, it gives marketing and sales shared language, but the GTM environment has changed a lot. I would say crazy much since AI was deployed, you know. So today we have real-time signals at scale. We have full account level context. We have AI-assisted interpretation. We have automated personalized activation. We have processed data faster. Sorry, we can process data faster and act more precisely on that. So the question is not whether MQL was useful historically. The question is whether one score is still precise enough for the way modern B2B demand actually works. And for most venture-backed companies, the answer is no. So that's why we are here. And I'm sorry, I made a mistake here. Putting 2025, it's 2026 actually. Still works, of course. One of the biggest challenges is that now we can know exactly who we are targeting before any actions. So this matter because before you even talk to somebody about engagement or intent, you need to know whether an account belongs in your market. A lot of GTM waste starts because teams score behavior before they validate fit. A bad fit account with strong engagement is still a bad fit account. So as we said in RevOps, you know, the output of the system matters as much as the input of the system, or should come in, should come out. So the first layer is TAM mapping. Who are the companies we actually want? Which segments matter? Which industry, sizes, geographies, buying committees, and relevant? Which accounts should be excluded? Which accounts are strategic enough to deserve human attention? Once you have that foundational step, then awareness and readiness signals become much more valuable. Without TAM clarity, signal-based GTM become noise at scale. And I can guarantee you that if you are start tracking a lot of signals today, but you don't have like a clarity in who are you targeting, you're gonna be so annoyed of the amount of signals that you get from leads that are not qualified. So this is the most important distinction in the entire session. Once you map the TAM, you also need to know that awareness is not readiness. Awareness answers, do they know us? Have they engaged with our content? Have they seen our point of view? Are we present in the mental map? You can build awareness through content, repetition, education, events, community, thought leadership, but readiness answers a different question. Is something happening inside this account right now that could be a new executive hire, a funding round, a hiring motion, expansion into a new market, a technology change, a new initiative? Any of those could be an readiness signal for you. The key point here is you can control awareness. You build it over time, but you do not control when an account enters into a buying mode. You can only detect it earlier, interpret better, and activate faster, and maybe, just maybe, through your content, you can let them know why it's urgent to make a decision. But when teams use the same motion for awareness and readiness, revenue leaks. So that's why we create a framework. And we call it the demand compass. It's one piece, one part of our general framework that is the revenue tornado. But if you want to know more as well, we're happy to share you. And we have a video on YouTube as well that was explaining the whole methodology. But this tool in particular helps you locate demand before deciding the next move. So the idea it's actually simple. It does not tell you where to go. It tells you where you are. That's what modern demand qualification should do. You know, the old question was, is this lead qualified? But the question is too vague. A qualified account might need sales follow-up or outbound or nurture or awareness building or simply monitoring. So the question is, where is this account right now? Once we know where the account is, we can decide the correct motion. So let me stop here a bit. Do you have any questions so far?
Yeah, I just replied to a good question in the comments from Alejandro. He asked the difference between in market and sales ready. I think it's worth
Oh, awesome.
explaining
We're
each
gonna
what.
we're gonna talk about each quadrant right now. So thanks for asking. So first of all, the demand compass is built on two axes. Okay, one is brand awareness, as we already discussed, and the other one is readiness to buy. So high brand awareness and high readiness to buy will lead us to sales ready. I think he asked for sales ready. Yeah, sales ready. So the first axis is brand awareness. It answers the question of how much evidence do we have that this account know us, trust us, or engage with our brand. This could include LinkedIn engagement, newsletter activity, event attendance, website visits, community interaction, first degree connections with your team on LinkedIn, and many more.
I would like to add that most companies are used to track brand engagements through HubSpot, through different scraping solutions and like data providers. We're able to expand the amount of leads that are aware of your brand, even though they are not an inbound lead necessarily.
Yeah. For example, we can track if someone is talking about your brand. If someone has interacted with your LinkedIn post, someone is following your LinkedIn page. And most of the cases, you don't have that data in HubSpot, and you can scrape it and send it to HubSpot if you want to have it in there. But also, you can activate the HubSpot data. The important part is that you should be able to track every moment that somebody interacts with your content, visits your site, and so on, to actually tag them and be able to know when they are really brand aware. Now, the second axis is readiness to buy. And most of the cases, you don't have that data in HubSpot because readiness to buy, it's external signals. So it answers the question of how much evidence do we have that there is relevant internal momentum inside the account right now. So that could include hiring funding, executive changes, expansion plans, category specific initiatives, technology changes, high intent behavior, interacting with your competitors, and many, many more. The idea here is that you map which signals are relevant to your ICP, to your offer. And once you map the signals, you start tracking them. So once you have both, you will be able to map them accordingly. So when we separate these two dimensions, we stop treating every engaged account as sales ready. I mean, not every account is sales ready, even if they are qualified. So we stop ignoring accounts that are in market as well, just because they don't know us yet. If you were only activating the leads that are brand aware because they visit your site, they interact with your content, they download a PDF, whatever, you're missing this section of leads that are also ready to buy, but not necessarily in your CRM right now. So when you combine awareness and readiness, you get 4 different demand states. Top right is sales ready. They know what you and something is happening right now. Bottom right, this section is in market. Something is happening right now, but they don't know you well. Yeah. So we have top left, that is nurture. They know you, but there is no clear buying trigger yet. This might be the leads that you know that they are following you. You might even send them a cold email and they replied to that cold email, but they don't kind of let you know that they are buying or they're interested in your offer. Just know that they know what you offer, you know. And then bottom left is called low awareness, low readiness, not a priority for sales right now. The mistake most teams make is treating these 4 stages as if they were one type of lead. And that is exactly what the traditional MQL model often does. It compresses different realities into one stage. Now, the demand compass separates them so each account can get the right next action. Let's go to the actions itself. Each stage requires different motion. So, for example, sales ready means act now. This should go to sales quickly with context, no delay. I mean, You should send an alert to your team to reach out to those leads immediately. Call them, send them a DM, cold email, whatever it works for you, but you should necessarily go after them immediately. Then we have in market. That means you need to create relevance fast. These accounts might not know you, but timing is active right now. So the motion should be trigger-based outbound with strong personalization. Nurture means stay visible. They know you, but they are not ready. The job is educating them, monitoring them, and trust building them, not aggressively like sales follow-ups, but try to give them upfront value. So once they start looking for a solution and they become sales ready, they will trust you enough so you can convert them faster because they will trust you and with a higher price as well. Now, cold means they don't know you and they're not buying. So you should build awareness around those leads. They might still be part of your market, but there's no evidence they know you or need you right now. So the job here is low pressure education and market development. This is where the model becomes practical. We're not just naming the account state, we are defining the motion. So this is the executive takeaway. The model only matters if it changes actions. So if the demand compass is just a pretty two by two, it doesn't matter. For each quadrant, you need to define who owns it, what motion should happen, what SLA applies, what channels should be used, what message should be sent, when should it escalate, when should it be suppressed. For example, a sales ready should be owned by sales with same day follow up. In market might be owned by sales plus outbound with trigger-based outreach within 24 hours. Nurture should stay primarily with marketing, with ongoing education, monitoring, newsletter, or content. Cold should not have a sales action. It should be handled through awareness building motion. This is how you move from lead scoring to an actual operating model. Now, let me show you how it looks like in Clay. As I told you before, we are Clay experts. So, of course, we're going to show you Clay. So for the ones that haven't seen a Clay table before, it's similar to a spreadsheet. The main difference is that you can connect that spreadsheet to many enrichment solutions, and you can connect spreadsheets across spreadsheets as well. So you can connect data to your CRM, to enrichment platforms to get and capture more information about the company, enrich everything that we just spoke about, and so on. So this is a Clay table that helps us monitor a market. So in this case, we have different columns that are related to accounts that are marked in blue, So we are sourcing leads in this table. So we might have different leads working for the same company. So in here, we're tracking back all the company data from another table we have connected to Clay. And we have the company description, company name. But we also scraped from that company table how many GTM and RevOps members the team have. We also scrape if they have an SDR, and we can also scrape if they're hiring right now. I'm going to show you that. Based on all those actions, we know that all these accounts are qualified, but they are not all ready. So we can track some actions like, for example, this company have recently received a funding round. So that's why they have a bigger score in readiness to buy. They have a free in this case. But as you can see here, we have another example. This one have a recent job post that we are interested into tracking. So we can also score them accordingly. And this can be 100% customized to your needs. Now, this is kind of signals in an account level, but you can also track signals at a lead level that would be more precise and effective. So you can track all the leads that are working for those companies, and you can track as well, for example, another signal might be if they have recently started with that position, and you can score them. Like, for example, this person have just started with that position a few months back, but this one started the position like more than 6 months ago. So they have a lower score. And then you can track, for example, if they have visited your site, you can check out another database that you can capture website visits. You can check if they are following, in our case, if they're following Clay, if they're following ourselves, if they are connected with us as well, like in this case, this person is connected with us, if they have been reacting to our content, if they have been commenting to our content, if they have been part of our workshops, if they are subscribed to our newsletter, and many other actions related to brand awareness and readiness to buy signals. So once you have all the signals in place, you can score them like a final score and assign them tags like recent position, click follower. So once you drive this lead to your sales team, they will also know why are you sending that lead to them. And finally, you can tag them
Context,
with a
right?
status. Sorry, can you repeat the question, Mark? Haven't heard.
No, it's a comment like that would be like the context layer that it's so trendy right now. This would give you
Oh,
real
yeah.
context on each lead and why it is sales ready, for example.
Of course, each tag can be really powerful or it can be just an indicator. I mean, every tag have a different meaning for your team. So that's why once you have them mapped, you can assign them a score and then assign them a status based on the score. Like, for example, if they're high on readiness to buy and high on brand awareness, they are sales ready. If this case, for example, they have average brand awareness, so they are in the nurture because they haven't shown us any readiness to buy. They are just connected with us. So based on that, you can automate sending those leads into different motions. So for example, for the cold leads, we can enrich their contact data and send them into a cold email campaign. I'm not going to show you the whole step-by-step process, but you can create personalized end-to-end copies using LLMs and then send them into a campaign. So the important part here is that you will be able to create a dashboard to track how many of your leads are actually right now buying, how many of the leads know you, how many of them are cold, how many are sales ready, and being able to use that data to activate different motions and also enable your team to have access to this data and do the action that they need to do in real time with full context. So, bottom line is that now you're able to become this framework operational with Clay. So with Clay or any similar GTM orchestration system, I mean, but the main thing is that you can start connecting the dots. You can map your TAM and reach accounts and contacts and track awareness, signals, readiness signals, classify accounts into the demand compass, and then route them, those accounts into the correct motion. So the important thing is that the output is not just a score. The output is a decision. For example, this account is sales ready, send it to the account executive today. This account is in market trigger, personalized album, and so on. When the system works, the impact shows up across the GTM motion. You can improve connection rates in LinkedIn because you are targeting with better context. You can improve reply rates as well because the message is based on the account's actual status. You can improve cold email results because you're not treating all accounts equally. You can increase lead to meeting conversion because sales gets clearer reasons to act, and you can reduce manual hours because list building, prioritization, enrichment, and routing becomes systematic. Now, I want to be careful here. The point is not that the automation magically fixes pipeline. The point is that when signals are interpreted correctly and connected to the right motion, the team stops wasting efforts on the wrong accounts at the wrong time. That is where the efficiency gain comes from. In this slide, we summarizes the whole problem. Revenue leak happens because between signals and actions, the signals might already exist. Someone engaged, an account hire a relevant leader, a company raised funding, a prospect attending to an event, a buying committee member connected with someone on the team. But then what happens? Sometimes ready accounts are not prioritized. Sometimes engaged accounts are treated as ready when they are not. Sometimes cold accounts are pushed too early, and sometimes sales actions without acts without enough content. So often, marketing receives no feedback and the system never improves. So if you're a CMO, this is critical because revenue leakage is not always visible in a dashboard. It often hides in the hands-off, in the routing logic, in the lack of context, or in the delay between signal and action. If this framework resonates, Marcus was saying, we're offering a free revenue leakage audit. So the goal is not to sell you another campaign. The goal is to help you see where qualified demand might be getting lost before your next campaign cycle. In the audit, we review your current qualification logic and signal sources. Then we identify leakage points where demand is getting misclassified, where readiness signals are being missed, where routing or follow-ups is delayed, or where sales might be acting too early or too late, or marketing lacks information. So then we show you what the demand compass would look like for your company, and the output is a clear diagnosis. Here's how your current system works. Here is where demand is leaking. Here's how your account would map across sales ready, market nurture, and cold. And here's the routing, activation, and feedback loop changes we would recommend to your company. So we're opening a limited number of free audit slots if you're interested. No cost, no obligation, just clearer view of where revenue might be leaking. So if you're interested, just let us know. I'm going to send you a link to book a call. We're happy to guide you through that.
There's some in the chat. I like one about TAM from Jay. TAM definition upfront. Is there a recommended sweet spot for volume of accounts? Ideally, try to cover as much as possible of your total addressable market. Sometimes it's such an art to maximize the coverage through multiple different specific data providers and also multiple different search angles, right? Depending on your ICP, the challenge that you have for getting those databases. But we strongly suggest you to invest time and effort on trying to map your TAM and get as highest coverage as possible. Then once you have that database, through this type of systems, you would be able to real-time monitor the accounts every day. So it would give you a great leverage against your competitors because you would be there faster to pick up those revenue opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, sweet spot depends on the company. It depends on the deal size, depends on the time that you take to close a deal. It also depends on your selling process. If you have like a really technically involved process, difficult to close, probably you will need to start mapping the TAM as soon as possible and reach out to all of them. At least I would say that if you have like a big annual contract value, I will recommend you to map the whole TAM, like at least 50,000 accounts if you have it, or 20,000. Between 20 to 50,000 would be a good size to map and monitor. Above that, could be expensive to track the whole behavior of your TAM, but if the deal value is big enough, could be worth it. So yeah, I don't want to confuse you. If you let me know what's your product, what you're selling, I'll be happy to give you a better recommendation. Do you have another question? How are you handling account data that lives in different systems, like intent signals in one tool and CRM data in another one? That's a good question as well. In that sense, what we usually do is we track back all the data into Clay, because in Clay you can process and enrich data at scale. You will be able to use AI as well to identify the value of the information. Like, for example, if you're tracking job posts, it's not the same if one of the key accounts that you're monitoring have just posted a job post on, let's say, they're hiring an SDR. In the description of that job post, they mentioned that they want the SDR to start using Clay. Like, for us, it's a better signal to know that. So in those cases, you can use Clay to actually analyze each post to identify them and score them appropriately. But yeah, the answer is tracking all the signals back to Clay and use Clay to actually make the score and send it back to the CRM at the end. So the CRM can have the data, can store the data, but we recommend our clients to process the data in Clay or in a orchestrator like Clay. Follow-up question: are there specific techniques for running the system described with open source commercial handoff where awareness might be uneven between roles at company? Okay, I mean, if you want to run this system without Clay, could be really difficult. But you might be, I mean, we have seen a lot of different users creating like Clay version of them using Cloud Code. It's possible, yeah, but it has a lot of flaws. One of them is that the security of that platform is not as good as Clay. Another one is that it is really difficult to maintain those platforms, and Clay have a team maintaining the platform. Another one is that Clay already have integration with a lot of tools that if you want to do it by yourself, even using Cloud Code, it will take you a lot of time. So we don't recommend running that in open source, but you could if you like. I mean, that's
Sorry, I'll just
possible.
come up to clarify. And if this is too detailed, we could take one to one. But it was more just like
Sure.
when you have a business model where you have open source adoption of a product, but
Oh,
then you have commercial products on top. You're right. You may have different levels of awareness, right? From, let's say in the case of like builders versus buyers, right? And I was just curious if you guys have worked in that space where you
that
sometimes need
totally
to
makes
work with
sense.
that unevenness of awareness.
Do you have like a GitHub repository for that?
We have a large open source project, yes, that is on GitHub.
Awesome. So you can track GitHub actions like forks on your repository. I mean, any action on GitHub, Reddit can be tracked as well. And the main thing is that you can assign a score, whether it's more useful to you to track forks or actions. It depends on your company, but we have worked with different companies that have been tracking GitHub, LinkedIn as well. There's another tool that can help you. For example, if you have your documentation page on your site, track if someone copied the code to try your API, for example. So you can assign a higher score to those leads. You can also track any other interaction with your free product. Like if you're running a product growth motion, you can also capture interactions with your SaaS platform and use them to score them. So yeah, it's possible.
Okay, cool. Maybe it's worth like a deeper dive. I think in some cases in open source, you may have like builders, because we do track all those activities, but they're not necessarily the buyers of an enterprise deal. So you have like this disconnect that you have to
Mm,
work through. But it's probably a little bit too detailed for here.
sure. Happy to go in a call with you and discuss about how we can help you or how you can start tracking that for your company. We have covered
Earlier.
a lot of topics. We don't want to overwhelm you. We have a lot of topics to cover. If you want to go over any other topic in the future, we have our agenda for events, but we're happy to adjust the agenda to your needs as well. Probably want to have some podcast events as well with some CMOs. So if you're interested as well, just send us a message. We're happy to discuss with you.
I hope it was a good one for you guys and hope to see you soon.
Yeah. See you.
Thanks. Bye bye.